As you can tell by all my clothes I got on with the beanie, no leaves on the trees, we are officially in wintertime. Here we are on Lake Guntersville, part of the Tennessee River chain, full of grass. And one of the best ways to catch them in the wintertime is fishing the grass and fishing rattle trap. The Lucky Craft RTO series is by far one of my favorite rattle traps fishing grass in the wintertime. With its unique style with a larger nose, a little flatter top, just a little bit wider of a bait compared to, let's just say, the LV500. This thing floats above the grass a little bit better, and also when you rip it through the grass, it comes through a lot better than the LV. The LV500 is also great in around the grass, but for grass fishing with the LV500, you definitely want to be fishing some deeper water, anywhere from that 8 to 15 foot range. You can fish it shallower with some heavier line, but normally I like that little bit deeper water with LV500. Now today on the lake, we had pretty tough conditions. We had really high bluebird, pretty windy, post-frontal, just not great conditions. We were able to generate a couple bites, one being a nice one. One of the techniques that we went to is Lucky Craft RTO 150. In the wintertime, it's December, that bright red. Anytime you get into those colder months, November, December, January, February, red is always a key. Even though some fisheries may not have these bright red crawdads to mimic that type of stuff, it is this red color, it just makes them react. You know, they may not be feeding with how cold it is. You know, water's in the mid 40s. A lot of these fish just don't really want to feed, and if they do, maybe it could be a big meal. And with that bright red color coming out of the grass, they just react to it. You know, a lot of times in the winter, you want to go to your more natural color, like the Ghost Minnow or BP Shiner, only because the water starts clearing up. These fish can see a little bit further. Bait fish start to become more natural. But in my eyes, with the water temp in the mid 40s, they're super lethargic, so they don't really want to feed a lot during the day. So how I make them eat is basically react. This color is super, super bright. So when that rattle trap is coming out of that grass and it pops through, they just react to it. Now, the one thing that makes fishing rattle trap in the wintertime so effective is this noise. They are super, super loud, they vibrate, and they just make fish react. With the lifelike colors that Lucky Craft offers, you're bound to get a few bites this winter fishing the Lucky Craft, either the RTO series or the LV500 series. Now there's a few differences between the staple LV500 and the RTO. One being the width of the bait. The RTO is gonna be a lot wider. This makes this bait, in my opinion, run through shallower grass way more effective. The LV500 is a great bait through grass, but a lot of times it'll dig too far down. With this wider look to it, the bait stays up a little bit higher and kind of hovers the grass as far as digging in it, like the LV500. And a lot of times the LV500, digging in the grass is very effective, but when I want to fish that bait a little bit slower and keep it in front of their face and rip it out of their face, that RTO is my go-to. I want to talk about rod and reel setup and line. Since we are fishing mainly the RTO in roughly 1 to 6 feet of water, I like heavy line, anywhere from 15 to 20 pound 100% fluoro. I need minimal stretch when I'm ripping it out of the grass. I need a stiffer rod. The rod I go with is anywhere from 7.3 to 7.5 foot rod. It's kind of a medium heavy, moderate fast, something that you can really make long casts, but also get that bait and rip it out of their face, because most of the time in the wintertime, early spring or late fall, whatever, that November to February range, most of the time on a rattle trap bite, it's a reaction. You're popping it out of the grass, popping it over a rock, and they're reacting to the bait. So being able to make a long cast, rip it out on a long cast is very, very key. You don't want your bait way out there getting bogged down in the grass, reeling it back in. So this is an area that sets up perfectly for the wintertime and wintertime fishing. Somewhere near the main body of the lake, you have a main point that comes out, and what we were fishing today was some of this grass around these areas. But what happens is you need to be somewhere close to the main river. If you're fishing shallow grass, you got to be somewhere near deep water. And this right here sets up perfectly. You have deep water access, you have shallow grass and cover for them to not only feed on top and then get back down in the deeper water if they need to. These are high percentage areas, whether you have wind current, regular current, this creates mud lines, all sorts of things. where bass can get up and feed. A lot of times you don't want to be in the backs of these pockets because the water temperature is too cold. Most of the time in the wintertime, your main lake is going to be warmer than it is in the back of a creek. So those fish want to be somewhere relative to the main river, the main part of the lake.